in the world we're in right now, we are really we're learning, I think, the importance of it being a pack.
It is an absolute joy today to be speaking with Gabbi Kosmidis and Scott Thompson, the stars of
Cool.
Night of the Zoopocalypse. Yes. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This film is absolutely joyful. I had so much fun with it. The energy, it's scary in a family way, and just so much fun. What excited you both to be a part of it?
Go ahead, Scott.
Well, I've never really done a kids movie before, so that was exciting to enlarge my circle of influence to children. I just wanted to be, I like animation. It's fun to just go in a booth and make something up out of nowhere, and I like the script, and I thought this would be a lot of fun. And I'd never played an ostrich before. I've played many flightless birds, but never an ostrich.
Right. It's a very specific role. Very specific role.
Yes, it is. Yes.
For myself, I've been lucky that I've been doing a little bit of voiceover, and I got this audition, and I was lucky enough to book the part, and I love it because it's a genre film that I love. Period. I love horror films and the occult and spooky stuff. So getting to be a part of a project that introduces that to kids is really awesome. I loved, like growing up, I also really loved genre films, and having this would have probably been a nice gateway rather than some of the really horrifying things I watched at a really young age. Though I still love those films, and to this day I have no regrets. But yeah, so I just really love the project in general. The team is really, really cool, and yeah.
Well, I wondered for you both. I mean, and the animation world would be so different than performing. I know, Gabbi, you've done lots of voice work. Scott, I'm not sure how much animation you've done.
I did a series years ago called Robo Roach, which is a kids. Actually, it is a kids cartoon. It was a television series. It was a couple of seasons, and I played Robo Roach, which was a genetically engineered roach who wasn't very smart and got into trouble all the time. So that's my experience. But I really loved doing it. The thing was very lucky because I got to do it with Ted Dykstra, who played my brother Reg, and we got to be in the same room together, which is very rare.
Yeah.
And this movie, we did not really get that. I mean, Gabbi, you might have had it more than I did, but we did have a great guy, Scott. What was his last name?
Scott Farley.
Scott Farley. I always forget other Scotts, but I forget that there are other Scotts with different last names, which is still something I have a hard time wrapping my head around. But he was very good. He did all the other characters. It made you feel like you were in the room with the other actors.
Yeah, he was amazing. He really, really, he rocked it. No, I was the same. I had Scott for almost all my sessions, and then I was lucky enough I got to work with David for one session, and yeah, it was a wild ride. He's very tall and he's super cool, so that was insane. And yeah, I think we really got the Dan and Gracie dynamic in the studio, so I was lucky for sure.
That would absolutely help. That's one of the things I wondered about, because animation it's such a an isolated experience from what I've been told, but you're interacting and whatnot. But Gracie and Ash are such wonderful characters. I was wondering how you related to them. I mean, as were there aspects of them that really felt like they were parts of you?
Well, for me, at least, I think she's kind of spunky. She kind of likes to do her own thing, and I feel I'm also spunky, and I kind of like to do my own thing. She's definitely very brave. So that's something I try to bring into my everyday life, even for little things, I don't know, just really saying the truth and trying to be as honest as possible in a world that really kind of forces you to shrink yourself a lot. So, yeah, I guess that, but I mean, maybe I have a little inner wolf in me now that I howl when the moon comes out.
I was wondering for you both if we could talk a bit about the pack. because I think that's such an interesting idea in this film. You know, this is a, you know, we see lots of team up films.
Uh-huh.
There's a real tension between some of these animals as they're trying to decide whether or not they're not just trust but eat one another. But the film really talks about the importance of the pack. And I was wondering if you both could talk about that idea and why that is important to these characters.
Oh, well, I'm very familiar with the pack phenomenon. I mean, I've been in the pack most of my life. I mean, I grew up with four brothers, so I grew up in a pack of five boys. And so I was very, at a very young age, I knew what that was like to be in a pack. And my father, well, we were raised like wolves. So yeah, basically. And so I always knew what it was like to be in a group and where each person has different strengths and but the group supports it. And then I became a kid in the hall, and I've been doing that the rest of my life, and that was also a group of five guys. So I'm very good at being in a team, and I understand the importance of being in a team. And I think it's interesting they chose a wolf to be the main character, because wolves are they are pack animals, and but they also have individual. They're also individual. They're not Borgs. You know what I mean? They're not the Borg. They're not an amorphous creature, but they understand the importance of being in a group and also the importance of individual.
100%. I don't, that was perfect. What do you need my answer for?
Well, teams are so important, right?
They're so important.
Yeah.
And we also we kind of are living in a really divided world right now. And I think this idea of sort of being able to open up conversations and try and communicate with each other in a way that is healthy is a big thing. So the pack idea, I think, goes in all aspects. Yeah, in a team level, in a family level, but also I think just really figuring out what our differences are and not destroying each other.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I think that's a very good point, that in the world we're in right now, we're learning, I think, the importance of it being a pack. And I think that's interesting. You can even think of packs as nations. And, as Canadians, I definitely think you can see what's happening in this country is that people are realizing that possibly we became too obsessed with our individual personalities, and we forgot that there's a group. And I think that's what's happening in Canada, is that people are going, oh my God, yes, that's a different animal. That animal looks different than me, and that animal hunts differently than me. But we're still the same animal, and we still live in the same place. So we have to defend each other, because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I think that's the phenomenon we're seeing right now.
I love that. Even in this film, they talk about the watering hole rule.
Yes.
And that sounds a lot like what you're talking about there.
That's very interesting. That's sort of what's happening, right? I mean, there's a watering hole, and most of the animals understand that there's a time and a place to fight, and there's a time and a place to kill each other and eat each other. But there's also sometimes outside things come in, and it's time to not kill each other. Yeah. Right? That's where I think we're at.
That's the best lesson. Sometimes there's a time.
Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, that is true. I mean, sometimes there is a time to fight, and sometimes there's a time to not fight. And that's just it. That's just the way the world is. It's just the winds blow differently, and you have to be ready to respond. But what is it? What is that old saying? I shouldn't say this, but if you want peace, you have to prepare for war in a weird way. I shouldn't be saying these things, but I'm an ostrich. What do I know? I'm dumb. I have a bird brain. I have a bird brain, and half the time it's buried in the sand. So what do I know?
Honestly, to you both, the film is just so much fun, and like I said, genuinely intense. I know Rodrigo and Ricardo have made this horror blend, but what do you hope families take away from their night at the Zoopocalypse?
Well, actually, Rodrigo posted something the other day, and I thought it was awesome. And I'm going to butcher it, but it was something like, the first time you get spooky or get spooked, it prepares you to be brave. Something like that. It was something really quite profound. I was like, oh, that's amazing. But also, I love the feeling of being scared. I think the feeling of excitement and fear are the same in the body, the same chemical reaction. And I think it's fun. And I loved it as a kid. I loved being spooked. I still to this day scare my friends. I will literally hide under a bed and like grab at their legs or hide behind a curtain. I love scaring people. I think it's such a fun way of play. And so I hope people really leave feeling spooked, but also having some joy and laughter and feeling good. That's what I want them to take away from it.
Yeah, they are, it's true because they are very similar things. Also, I think laughter and terror are connected. People screaming is very much the same as people laughing. When you're screaming and when you're laughing, you're only thinking about the one thing, and that's I got to get the hell out of here, or that was hilarious. And so it takes you out of the mundanity of normal life.
100%.
And I think, like healthy scares, like movies and, books, etc., or your father jumping out from behind the desk, those are very healthy. And they do prepare you for the real world, which is terrifying a lot of the time. It is, but it's also hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. The duality. And also the message of teamwork and really kind of setting aside your differences and listening to one another is a big one, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, teamwork is very good. It takes time to learn how to be in a team. And I think that's what this movie's about. These very individual animals from different species. You have predators and you have, prey, and they somehow find a way to work together. And I think that's really interesting.
Well,
yeah, as a prey animal.
Yeah.
That's right. I absolutely love the film, and it is a joy to speak with you both. Honestly, thank you so much for your time. And,
thank you.
I wish you the best. Have a great day.
Have a great day.